Welcome, listener. If you ever felt a quiet ache beneath your ribs, the kind that doesn't speak in words, but in restless pacing, unfinished questions, and that strange, hollow feeling that maybe you've been performing your life instead of living it, then this story is for you. So go ahead and subscribe now, because when the noise of the world gets too loud, you'll want a place to return to. A place like this, where the scent of fresh-cut cedar wraps around your shoulders and the warmth of a quiet stove softens your mind just enough to let something new begin to take shape. Tonight's story is about a man named Caleb, 42 winters behind him, a promotion ahead, and a question he can no longer outrun. Who am I becoming, and who do I truly want to be? The heart attack that wasn't physical. A hypnotic story about anxiety, grief, and how a man's chest finally learned to open. The first time it hit, he was standing in the kitchen. It was early, still dark outside. The house was quiet. A cup of coffee steamed between his hands, and the fridge hummed softly in the background. And then it came. That tightness, right in the center of his chest, like something grabbed him from the inside and squeezed. Not sharp, not stabbing, but deep, slow, heavy. His name was Caleb, 42 years old, calm on the outside, reliable, stoic, the one people leaned on. But lately, he felt like a wall with a crack forming down the middle. And no matter how deep the breaths he took, the pressure wouldn't go away. Doctors ran tests, heart fine, lungs fine. Probably anxiety, they said. Try breathing exercises. But Caleb wasn't convinced, because this didn't feel like worry. It felt like something was breaking open. That weekend, Caleb drove without thinking. No destination, just his hands on the wheel and restlessness in his bones. Somewhere near the edge of town, he passed an old greenhouse he'd always meant to visit. A conservatory, they called it. Glass roof, early morning meditation classes. It hadn't been his thing, but something pulled him in. Inside, it was warm, humid. The air smelled like earth and moss. Ferns reached up like soft green arms. The floor was stone, cool, and quiet. At the far end, a group sat in a circle. A woman with gentle eyes spoke in a low voice. "Breathe into your chest," she said. "Not just your lungs. Your heart space. Let it open." Caleb stayed in the shadows, listening, not joining, but something in his chest responded. The pressure shifted, just a little. When the group ended, the woman approached him. "First time?" she asked. He nodded. She handed him a small card. Heartwood Somatic Therapy, Wednesday evenings, sliding scale. He tucked it in his coat and walked out before he could talk himself out of it. Wednesday night, he showed up. He told himself he'd just observe, maybe leave early. But the space felt safe. Dimming light, soft music. The same woman, Sabine, greeted him with a nod. They sat in a circle again. She led them through a practice called body mapping. "Emotions leave marks," she said. "They live in the body. Let's see where they've settled." Caleb closed his eyes, placed a hand over his chest, another on his belly. "Now breathe between your hands," she said. "Let that space widen." He did, slowly. And then something strange happened. In his mind, he saw a courtyard, stone floor, iron gates, and behind those gates was himself, or a version of himself, frozen, still, holding a heavy black box against his chest. Sabine spoke again. "What's in the box?" "I don't know," he whispered. "Ask him if he'll set it down." In his mind's eye, the frozen version of Caleb didn't move. But then the gate creaked open. The statue cracked at the shoulders. The box began to shift. In the real world, Caleb's breath hitched. His chest ached, but underneath it, something softened. A week later, Sabine suggested something called a sound room. A small padded place where you could scream, shout, speak your truth without anyone hearing. Caleb almost laughed. "I don't scream," he told her. But she smiled gently. "That box you saw? The one pressing on your chest? Sometimes sound needs to open it." He booked a session. The room was small, quiet, walls thick and soft. A red light blinked near the ceiling. On air. He stood there, awkward, unsure. Then he thought of the box, and his mom, and how he never got to say goodbye. And something inside him cracked open. He screamed. Once, then twice. Not words, just sound. Raw, deep, real. It echoed, bounced, surprised him. And when it stopped, he sank to the floor, shaking. But his chest? It felt different. Not empty, just wider. Grief doesn't follow rules. Some days Caleb felt clearer, steadier. Others, the weight returned like a hand pressing down. On the anniversary of his mother's death, it hit him hard. 3:17 a.m., chest tight, breath short, heart pounding. He got in the car and drove, barefoot, barely awake, to the conservatory. Rain tapped on the windshield. He sat there hunched over the wheel, trying to catch his breath. A soft knock on the window. Sabine. She held up a small bottle. Rose oil. "Put a drop on your chest," she said, "and breathe into it." He did. The scent was soft, sweet. Something about it reminded him of safety, childhood, forgiveness. His breath became easier. The pressure eased. "It still feels like I'm breaking," he said. Sabine looked at him kindly. "Maybe you are. But sometimes the heart doesn't break down. Sometimes it breaks open." After that night, things started to change. Caleb showed up every week. Sometimes he cried. Sometimes he just sat in silence. But each time, his chest felt less like a cage and more like a door. Sabine gave him clay one week. "Shape what your grief feels like," she said. He made a fist, tight, closed. Over the weeks, that fist became a palm, then hands holding a small heart. He cracked it, filled the cracks with gold paint. "Every wound has a story," she told him. "Let the story shine." He brought the little sculpture home, set it on his dresser, a reminder his pain had shape, and the shape could change. Caleb started painting again. He hadn't picked up a brush in 10 years. Now, he painted with his hands, abstract shapes, lines that looked like breath, light, and rivers. At work, people noticed. "You seem lighter," they said. He smiled. "Just breathing better," he replied. And it was true. Each morning, he pressed his palm over his heart, not to claim it, but to greet it. His chest didn't feel tight anymore. It felt spacious. And when the hard days came, and they still did, he didn't run. He sat, he listened, he breathed into it. And 1 year later, on a calm Sunday morning, Caleb returned to the conservatory. He brought a small wooden box. Inside was a clay heart, gold-lined, well-worn. He walked to the koi pond, knelt. "Mom," he whispered, "I've been carrying you here, but I think it's time to let you move through me, not hold you in." He set the heart on the water. It floated, reflecting light, then sank slowly, gently between the lilies. The ripples moved out in all directions. He closed his eyes and placed his hand over his chest. And with that, Caleb stood, took a breath that filled him completely, and stepped into the rest of his life. Heart open, shoulders soft, and every beat a little freer than the one before. Hypnotic Induction. And now that Caleb's story has come to a close, let your own body stay soft. Stay still, just for a little while longer. You've just taken in something important, not just a story, but a mirror, a memory your body might recognize, even if your mind can't quite name it. So go ahead and notice your breath again. Not the surface breath, but the one deeper in your chest. The one that moves behind the ribs. The one that maybe has been waiting for you to listen, to slow down long enough to feel what's been living there all along. That ache you carry, maybe it wasn't just pain. Maybe it was the pressure of truth trying to find its way out. Let your hand rest gently over your chest now. Not to calm it, but to meet it. To greet it like Caleb did, not with fear, but with curiosity. Let your awareness settle into that space like warm light pooling into a darkened room. No rush, no force, just presence. Because now you know what feels like breaking might actually be opening. So breathe into that Let it widen. Let whatever is loosening in you be allowed. Let what's softening stay soft. You don't need to hold so tightly anymore. You've seen what happens when you let the box open, when you give your grief shape, when you choose to stay with yourself instead of running. And just like Caleb, you might find that that pressure in your chest isn't asking for escape. It's asking for space. So go ahead, breathe again, slower this time, deeper. And as you do, maybe whisper it quietly in your own heart. I'm not breaking down. I'm breaking open. Let that truth settle through you like gold through cracks. Let it be the beginning of something freer. And if you ever forget, if the ache returns, if the tightness comes back, place your hand on your heart and remember, you've already begun. So here are the key meanings to the story. Number 1, emotional pain can feel physical. Caleb's chest tightness symbolizes unexpressed grief and internalized stress. The story validates anxiety, grief, and suppressed emotion don't always show up as thoughts, but as somatic symptoms. Embedded metaphor? Sometimes it's not a heart attack, it's a heart awakening. Number 2, the cost of emotional stoicism. Caleb is the reliable one, praised for calmness, but that road becomes a cage. The crack forming down the center is a metaphor for repressed truth needing release. Key message: reliability without emotional honesty becomes eternal harm. Number 3, healing begins with gentle curiosity. Caleb doesn't heal through logic or fixing, but by following a nudge, trusting sensations, and showing up without knowing what's next. The greenhouse and the therapy sessions represent a return to internal safe places. Number 4, the body remembers what the mind avoids. Practices like body mapping and sound release bypass mental defense. The heavy black box symbolizes unresolved grief. Somatic tools like breath, voice, clay, scent become bridges between the unconscious and conscious. Number 5, expression transforms suppression. Screaming, sculpting, and painting are more than actions. They are acts of reclaiming power. The gold-lined cracked heart echoes the Japanese art of kinetsuki, where brokenness is honored, not hidden. Number 6, letting go is not abandonment, it's integration. By releasing the clay into the pond, Caleb doesn't discard grief. He lets it move through instead of holding it tight. He shifts from container to conduit, from repression to flow. Number 7, grief isn't a problem to solve. It's a landscape to move through. There is no linear arc. Some days the pressure returns, but Caleb learns to sit, to breathe, and to stay with himself. A deep act of inner reparenting. And number 8, the real breakthrough is spaciousness. Not a cure, but capacity to feel, to breathe, to hold paradox. His chest doesn't just stop hurting, it becomes a vessel for more light. And here's the final embedded meaning. Sometimes what tightens the chest isn't fear or failure. It's all the words, love, sorrow, and truth we never gave a voice to. And when we let those finally move, the body makes space for something else to enter. If this story stirred something in you, if you felt a part of yourself begin to soften, or maybe even begin to take shape, then make sure you subscribe now so you can return to this space anytime you need to remember who you're becoming. And if you'd like a story crafted just for you, one that speaks directly to what your heart is carrying, I do offer personalized hypnotic stories as well. Email me at rhonda's@gmail.com, and that's a Rhonda without an H. Keep breathing deeper, keep listening inward, and remember, you're not broken, you're becoming. Until next time, be well.